Everyone is a negotiator. Yes, you, me, everyone. Why is it important to acknowledge yourself as a negotiator even for everyday situations? Chris Voss likes to say, "The most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in." I didn't realize what this meant for a long time. I struggled with being highly agreeable, which people often mistook for being a doormat. So things like asking for colleagues to help on a project turned into heated debates as to why they needed to help and why it was necessary to do the project in the first place. Once I realized that it was important to use negotiation skills in most negotiations, things started to shift. First, they started to shift at home, where 80% of negotiations happen. And instead of asking my family and friends to do things, I set upon inviting them to solve problems with me and allowed them to feel heard. Many people advocate for a win-win or 50-50 as outcome in negotiations. But let's say that your partner wants to eat at a seafood restaurant, but you want to have steak for dinner. You could opt to go to a place that serves both dishes, but you don't have any restaurant around that serves great steak that also has other items on the menu. So, do you compromise and pay for food you know you will not enjoy? Or just stew in resentment and eat seafood that day? In this economy, I think not. This is precisely Chris Voss's perspective. As the author of Never Split the Difference, negotiate as if your life depended on it, a New York Times bestseller, and with over 20 years of experience as an FBI hostage negotiator dealing with kidnappers, bank robbers, and terrorists, Voss dismisses the idea of compromises in negotiations. He discovered that the principles he applied in high-stakes negotiations are equally effective in business and everyday life, as the core of human negotiation remains constant across age, gender, and ethnicity. Whether negotiating with a terrorist or a businessman, the underlying principle is the same. Voss emphasizes that negotiation isn't about choosing between your way or mine, but finding a third option that satisfies both parties. For instance, remember when you were a kid and fought with your sibling over a piece of chocolate? Simply splitting would not have resolved the issue, as both of you would have felt cheated believing the other received more. A third-way solution could have been your mom having you divide the chocolate, but allowing your sibling to choose their piece first. In this video, I'll share 5 lessons from Voss's book that can enhance your negotiation skills. Lesson number 1, try to understand first. Every negotiation starts with the universal principle that people seek understanding and acceptance. The simplest and most effective way to achieve this is through listening. By actively listening, you show empathy and a genuine desire to grasp the other person's perspective. While it may seem straightforward, many fail at this critical step. Instead of truly listening, they're preoccupied with their response, waiting for their turn to speak. This often leads to the other person feeling unheard, as if their words were completely disregarded. You've likely experienced conversations where it feels like you're discussing entirely different matters. For example, imagine you're trying to decide whether to spend your next vacation visiting family or go on an adventure trip. If one of you is just waiting to shoot down the other's ideas without really listening, it's going to feel more like a tug of war than a meaningful conversation. But when you listen, really listen, you make it clear that you respect and value your partner's viewpoint. In negotiations, people tend to raise their voices because they don't feel listened to. Successful negotiation hinges on 3 key desires: to be understood, to be respected, and then to achieve their objectives. Without genuine listening, don't expect a favorable outcome in your negotiations. Lesson number 2. Negotiation is not a battle. Negotiation isn't about clashing arguments. It's an act of discovery aimed at understanding what the other side truly desires, be it money, time, respect, or recognition. To facilitate this discovery, the author suggests several tactics. The first is simple: smile. Smiling can light up the brain with positivity, making us 31% more intelligent. Conversely, a negative mindset can reduce our cognitive abilities by the same margin. The second tactic is mirroring, which involves repeating the last few significant words your counterpart has said. For instance, if your friend or partner says, "I really feel like having sushi today," your response could be, "Sushi today." Although mirroring might feel awkward initially, with practice, it becomes a powerful tool for drawing out more information than direct questions like, "Why do you always want to eat seafood?" Such questions allow your counterpart to pause and reconsider their stance, whereas mirroring keeps the conversation fluid and encourages them to disclose more. After mirroring, it's crucial to remain silent for at least 4 seconds, allowing the technique to work its magic. Lesson number 3, practice tactical empathy. Tactical empathy involves understanding the feelings and mindset of the other person, particularly by identifying and addressing the emotional barriers to agreement. Once you've discerned the underlying emotion, it's crucial to label it. Labeling entails summarizing and reflecting back what the other person has expressed, typically starting phrases with, "It seems like," or "It sounds like." For instance, 2 friends, Sam and Taylor, are discussing their weekend plans. Sam says, "I really want to check out the new art exhibit downtown this Saturday. I've been looking forward to it for weeks." Taylor, picking up on Sam's excitement, but feeling bogged down by personal stuff, acknowledges, "You seem really pumped about the exhibit. It's important for you to go, isn't it?" Sam, feeling heard, sees something's up with Taylor and asks if he's okay. This allows Taylor to open up. "I've just been dealing with a lot at home, and I'm not sure I'll be the best company this weekend. I don't want to bring down your mood." Note, Taylor's acknowledgement of Sam's interest, despite his own feelings, exemplifies tactical empathy, showing an understanding of Sam's emotions while also sharing his own concerns. This opens the door for an honest and supportive conversation. Labeling is effective for 2 main reasons. Firstly, it verifies that you've correctly identified the emotion. Secondly, it demonstrates to your counterpart that you genuinely understand them, which strengthens the connection and increases their likelihood of liking you. When someone likes you, the chances of reaching an agreement are significantly higher. Empathy synergizes brain power, uniting efforts to solve the problem collaboratively. Another aspect of tactical empathy involves neutralizing negative emotions by preemptively acknowledging them. Before a meeting or negotiation, anticipate any negative perceptions or criticisms your counterpart might have. Address these concerns proactively at the start of your interaction. For example, if a client is upset due to a missed deadline, you might begin the meeting by acknowledging, "It might seem like we've let you down and can't keep our promises, leading you to reconsider our partnership. You're justified in feeling this way." This acknowledgement can disarm the counterpart, shifting their focus from airing grievances to seeking solutions. Negative emotions and the fear of loss have a 3-fold stronger impact on our brain than positive emotions. By helping your counterpart move past negative feelings, you pave the way for more constructive and successful negotiations. Lesson number 4, start with no. Contrary to striving for an immediate yes, beginning with no can actually be more beneficial in negotiations. A yes often leads to feelings of commitment or entrapment, raising internal alarms about potential overcommitment or undesired obligations. For instance, agreeing to a seemingly innocuous request like a 5-minute conversation can trigger concerns about being cornered into a much longer, unwanted discussion. On the other hand, if approached with a question like, "Is now a bad time for a 5-minute chat?" the typical response might be a no. But with a counteroffer such as, "Let me finish up a few things and I'll meet you in 15 minutes. This response stems from a position of safety and control, as you haven't committed to anything immediately. Moreover, starting with no places you in the driver's seat, allowing you to set the terms of the engagement, like the timing and location of the meeting. This approach not only makes you feel more in control, which enhances cognitive speed and focus, but it also streamlines the negotiation process. By declining the initial request, you naturally address subsequent logistical questions, effectively providing all the necessary details without any additional effort from the asker. Lesson number 5, that's right. In negotiations, that's right is one of the most potent affirmations you can receive. Achieving this response involves actively listening to your counterpart and reflecting their words back to them. While it may seem overly simplistic or even ineffective at first, this technique significantly amplifies empathy, making the other party feel thoroughly understood. When someone says "that's right," it often indicates they feel completely acknowledged and believe you grasp their perspective fully. This phrase typically emerges during moments of realization or agreement. However, be cautious of receiving a "you're right" instead, as this often signifies a failed attempt at connection. The distinction between "that's right" and "you're right" might seem minimal, but the implications are profound. "You're right" is frequently used as a polite dismissal or a way to conclude the conversation without genuine agreement. Effective interpersonal skills are crucial in any profession. Even if you excel in your technical abilities, lacking in people skills can significantly hinder your workplace success. Understanding and applying the subtle nuances of communication, like the difference between "that's right" and "you're right," plays a critical role in building effective relationships and achieving negotiation success. Thank you for watching up until this point, but I have to add this caveat before I close the video and advise. Please do not use these techniques to manipulate your family, friends, or employees. Though this unsolicited advice may seem obvious, I have learned from life experiences that even the most obvious things need to be stated out loud. I used to have a narcissistic, psychopathic boss who loved this book and made everybody read it. He would then use the techniques in the book to attack every single disagreement. It was impossible to discuss anything with him, because you would notice him taking the Chris Voss mentality and deciding not to back up no matter what, and using all the lines in the book. Even when we told him that we noticed him using the techniques on us, he would just keep doing it anyway. To Voss's credit, my boss almost always got his way. But then again, most of the team, including me, left because we could not handle him anymore. I guess my point is that Chris Voss is right in that everything is a negotiation, but I do not think it is in your long-term interest to win every single one of them. Know which discussions and battles you have to win, and use his techniques there.